What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest stars sits down for what should be a fun morning chat and instead gets blindsided by questions he never agreed to answer? An explosion so intense it ends with security getting involved. In just 25 seconds, a conversation about movies turns into the most shocking exit Good Morning America has ever witnessed. Before we get into this absolutely wild story, smash that subscribe button right now. We bring you daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals, the confrontations the mainstream media tries to bury, and the drama that happens when celebrities finally snap. Subscribe because you're not getting the real story anywhere else. Last night's episode of Good Morning America was supposed to be simple. Samuel L. Jackson, one of the highest-grossing actors of all time, was there to promote his latest film. The guy's done hundreds of these interviews, always professional, always entertaining, always quotable. The GMA audience loves him. But what went down between him and Michael Strahan has the entire internet losing their minds this morning. And for good reason. Samuel walked onto that set looking cool as always, dressed sharp in a dark suit, those signature glasses on, giving the hosts friendly handshakes and hugs. The energy seemed great. Robin Roberts asked him about the new movie, and he gave funny stories about filming. George Stephanopoulos brought up his incredible career, and Samuel was humble and gracious about it. Everything was going exactly how these morning show interviews are supposed to go. Light, fun, promotion. But then Michael Strahan decided to take things in a completely different direction. "Sam, I want to ask you about something," Michael said, leaning forward with this serious expression that immediately changed the vibe in the studio. "You've been very quiet lately about certain social issues. A lot of actors your age are speaking out, but you've kind of stayed silent. Why is that?" The smile dropped from Samuel's face instantly. You could see his whole demeanor shift, his body language going from relaxed to tense in a heartbeat. "Excuse me?" he said, his voice taking on that edge that anyone who's seen Pulp Fiction knows means danger. Michael pressed on, apparently not reading the room at all. "I'm just saying, you have such a huge platform, people listen to you, but when it comes to important issues affecting the black community, you've been pretty absent from the conversation. Don't you think you have a responsibility to speak up?" Robin and George exchanged quick glances, clearly not expecting this line of questioning. The audience got quiet, sensing the tension building on that set. Samuel took off his glasses slowly, deliberately, and stared at Michael with an intensity that could melt steel. "First of all," Samuel said, his voice low and controlled, "you don't know what the hell I do or don't do. Second, when did this become an interrogation about my personal choices? I came here to talk about my movie, not to be lectured by you about responsibility." Michael looked taken aback, but didn't back down. "I'm not lecturing. I'm asking a legitimate question. You're a black man with influence and—" "And what?" Samuel interrupted, his voice getting louder. "And I owe you an explanation about how I use that influence? I owe you a breakdown of my private life? Man, who do you think you are?" The studio went dead silent. You could hear people shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Robin tried to jump in with, "Guys, maybe we should—" but Samuel held up a hand to stop her, his eyes never leaving Michael's face. "Let me tell you something," Samuel continued, pointing a finger at Michael. "I've been working in this industry for 40 years. I've been fighting battles you can't even imagine since before you were playing football. I've put my money where my mouth is in ways I don't need to broadcast on television to make people like you happy. So don't you dare sit there and question my commitment to my community." Michael's jaw clenched. You could see his pride being challenged, see him getting defensive. "I played in the NFL, Sam. I know about hard work and sacrifice. I also know about using your platform for good. I do it every day on this show, talking about issues that matter. What do you do?" That's when Samuel's eyes went wide, like he couldn't believe what he'd just heard. "What do I do? What do I do?" His voice was rising now, that famous Samuel L. Jackson intensity coming through full force. "I don't have to prove myself to you. I don't have to list my charitable donations or my activism or the conversations I have behind closed doors to satisfy your curiosity." George tried to intervene. "Gentlemen, I think we're getting off track here. Sam, why don't we talk about the film?" "Nah, we're not getting off track," Samuel cut him off, still staring daggers at Michael. "Michael here decided to ambush me with some bullshit questions that have nothing to do with why I came on this show. So let's address it. You want to know why I don't perform my activism on social media like it's a Broadway show? Because real change doesn't happen in Instagram posts and tweet storms. It happens in real work, real conversations, real action." Michael leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "So everyone who posts about social issues is fake? Is that what you're saying?" "I'm saying," Samuel spoke slowly, like he was explaining something to a child, "that you don't get to judge how other people choose to contribute. You don't get to decide what's enough or what's real based on what you can see. That's arrogant as hell, Michael." "Arrogant?" Michael's voice got harder, louder. "I'm asking questions that viewers want to know. People look up to you, Sam. They want to know where you stand." Samuel laughed, but there was zero humor in it. "People want to know, or you want to know. Because it sounds like you're using this platform to attack me for not being the kind of black man you think I should be. Well, screw that. I don't answer to you." The audience gasped. Robin Roberts looked like she wanted to disappear. George was frantically looking off camera, probably at producers screaming in his earpiece. But Michael Strahan wasn't done, and neither was Samuel L. Jackson. "I'm not attacking you," Michael said, but his voice was tight with anger now. "I'm holding you accountable." "Accountable?" Samuel stood up, and when he stands up, everyone pays attention. The man commands a room like few others can. "You don't have the authority to hold me accountable for anything. You're a talk show host, Michael. You read off a teleprompter and smile at cameras. Don't act like you're some moral authority." Michael stood up too, which was a mistake, because now this went from a heated discussion to a full-on confrontation. "At least I show up. At least I use my voice. You just cash your checks and stay quiet." The words hung in the air for a second, and you could see the exact moment something snapped in Samuel. His face went completely cold, his hands balled into fists at his sides. "You just crossed a line you can't uncross," he said quietly, and the quiet was somehow more terrifying than the yelling. Robin was standing now, physically moving between them. "Okay, we need to stop this right now. Both of you, please." But neither man was looking at her. They were locked in on each other. Years of unspoken tension and different philosophies about fame and responsibility all exploding at once. "I show up where it matters," Samuel said, his voice shaking with rage. "I show up in communities. I show up with my wallet. I show up in ways you'll never know about because I don't need the world to applaud me for being a decent human being. But you, sitting here, trying to shame me on national television? That's low. That's really low. Michael's face was flushed, his massive frame tense. I'm doing my job. I'm asking the questions people want answered. No, you're grandstanding, Samuel shot back. You're trying to make yourself look good by making me look bad. You're using me to boost your own image as some woke superhero. I see exactly what this is. George stood up, raising his voice for the first time. We need to go to commercial, right now. He was making cutting motions to the crew, but the cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of this train wreck. Yeah, run to commercial, Samuel said, reaching for his mic pack and ripping it off. That's what you all do when things get real. Just cut away and pretend it didn't happen. He threw the mic pack on the chair, the sound echoing through the studio. Michael took a step toward him. You don't get to come on here and disrespect this show. I'm disrespecting the show? Samuel's voice boomed across the studio. You ambushed me with questions I never agreed to answer. You turned what should have been a fun interview into a damn trial. And you're talking to me about respect? Robin was between them again, her hands on both their chests. Both of you need to calm down. This is not okay. Sam, please. But Samuel was already moving, walking toward the edge of the set. Michael called after him. Running away? That's your solution? Samuel stopped dead in his tracks. He turned around slowly, and the look on his face made everyone in that studio take a step back. I've never run from anything in my life, he said, his voice deadly calm. But I'm not going to stand here and be disrespected by someone who thinks reading the news every morning makes him qualified to judge my life choices. You want someone to perform their activism for ratings? Get someone else. This is ridiculous, Michael shouted, his composure completely gone now. You're acting like a child. And you're acting like a bully, Samuel fired back. Using your platform to put people on the spot, to make them uncomfortable, to score points with your audience. That's not journalism, that's entertainment disguised as wokeness. A producer ran onto the set, trying to defuse the situation, but Samuel waved him off. Nah, I'm done here. This was supposed to be about my movie, about my work. Instead, it turned into the Michael Strahan show where he gets to interrogate people about their personal lives. I didn't sign up for this. Michael threw his hands up in frustration. Everything isn't about you, Sam. Some of us actually care about making a difference. That was it. That was the final straw. Samuel walked right up to where Robin was standing between them and looked Michael dead in the eye. You don't know me, he said, each word deliberate and sharp. You don't know what I do. You don't know what I care about. You don't know what keeps me up at night, or what I fight for when the cameras are off. So don't you ever, ever question my commitment to my people again. You hear me? Michael opened his mouth to respond, but Samuel was already turning away. I'm out, he announced to everyone and no one. Tell whoever needs to know that Samuel L. Jackson will never set foot on this show again. Not while this man is hosting. George tried one more time. Sam, please, let's just take 5 minutes and there's nothing to talk about. Samuel cut him off, already walking toward the exit. I came here in good faith. I got ambushed. I'm leaving. That's it. The cameras followed him as he walked off the GMA set, his posture rigid with anger, his famous presence somehow even more powerful in his fury. You could hear Michael saying something behind him, but Samuel didn't turn around, didn't acknowledge it, just kept walking. As he reached the exit, a crew member asked if he needed anything, and Samuel stopped briefly. Yeah, he said loud enough for everyone to hear. "I need people to remember that respect goes both ways. You can't demand it if you're not willing to give it." Then he pushed through the door and was gone. Back on the set, chaos had erupted. Michael was pacing, clearly still heated, saying something to the producers. Robin had her head in her hands. George was trying to figure out how to salvage the rest of the show. The audience sat in stunned silence, processing what they'd just witnessed. The stage manager was yelling about going to commercial, but the damage was already done. Samuel L. Jackson, one of the biggest movie stars on the planet, had just walked off Good Morning America after an explosive confrontation with one of their main hosts. This wasn't a planned bit. This wasn't manufactured drama. This was real anger, real conflict, real tension that had been building and finally exploded. Security had moved closer to the set during the confrontation, ready to intervene if things got physical. Thankfully, it never reached that point. But the fact that they were on standby showed just how serious the situation had become. These were two successful, powerful men whose egos and principles collided in the most spectacular way possible. As they finally cut to commercial, the last shot showed Michael Strahan's face, a mixture of anger and maybe, just maybe, the realization that he'd pushed too hard. The empty chair where Samuel had been sitting seemed to take up the whole screen, a reminder of what happens when an interview goes from promotional to personal, from friendly to hostile. And somewhere outside that studio, Samuel L. Jackson was walking away from Good Morning America for the last time, his dignity intact, his boundaries defended, and his patience for being disrespected completely exhausted. Samuel.